After a very fun sub-series of top 10 lists, here we are back with some more archetype analysis. Yeah, we are continuing where we left off last time, and now it's time to take a look at Altergeist, used by Emma Besho, or best known as the Ghost Girl from Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns, of course, since this is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns marathon after all. But yeah, this character actually falls under the same category of characters we haven't seen since Duel Monsters. Yes, this is basically the Reigns equivalent of Mai Kujaku from Duel Monsters, and yeah, this one is miles better than Mai Kujaku. First of all, she's not a blonde, that's a huge plus in my book. And yeah, she actually uses a better archetype. Well, that part we'll see, but as a character I already love her better than Mai Kujaku, so yeah. Let's start. Yeah, let's take a look at if this archetype is uh, worth your time or not. First up, we start with Altergeist Meluseek. This is a level 1 spellcaster with 500 attack and 300 defense, and this card can attack directly. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target one card your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand except Meluseek. You can only activate this effect once per turn. Yeah, this is actually a very fun card to pull off. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it can be useful in some lockdown themed decks such as Level Limit Area B or something like that. Maybe Messenger of Peace. So since this thing can keep poking the opponent for direct damage, and then you can keep sending cards to the graveyard. Yeah, another plus for this card offers is that it does not destroy the card, it sends it to the graveyard, which dodges the multiple floating effects the card might have nowadays. So yeah, as for its own archetypal thing, yeah, 500 attack isn't much to edge you closer to a victory, but it can prove a bit useful, although it is probably gonna be summoned with stuff like 1-for-1 and then they're gonna be used as link material, so yeah. Also, it has a very nice floating effect if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, which is most likely gonna be sent to the graveyard because you use this thing for link plays, and that is to add another Altergeist from your deck to your hand, which is pretty good. Yeah, and some Altergeist it can search have very nice special summoning conditions, so yeah. It's a good card altogether. Next up we have Altergeist Pixiel. This is another level 1, this one with 100 attack and defense. And you contribute this card to excavate the top 3 cards of your deck. Add one excavated Altergeist card to your hand. Also send the rest to the graveyard. You can only use this effect once per turn. Okay, this one's fine, nothing too special. Yeah, you can get a massive advantage from this, and if you excavate some non-Altergeist cards, they'll go to the graveyard, which probably is your intention if you're splashing in some non-Altergeist cards to the graveyard, so you can basically facilitate the use of their graveyard effects, well, more graveyard setup and all that, so yeah, not the sharpest tool in the toolbox, but it certainly can be a somewhat situational little Morphtronic cell phone kind of effect, so yeah, running 1 or 2 of these is okay in my opinion, so yeah. Next up we have their first level 2, then that being Altergeist Fifinalag, however you pronounce it, Fifinalag, alright, I'm gonna call it that. It's a spellcaster tuner monster with 0 attack and 1000 defense, and monsters your opponent controls cannot target Altergeist monsters you control for attacks except this one. Except Fifnelefag, okay. For convenience sake, I shall refer to this card as Flicky. So yeah. Also, your opponent cannot target Altergeist monster you control with card effects except Flicky, so yeah, you basically run this because they do have a synchro monster that can be summoned with this thing, so yeah, and it being the only archetypal tuner, so yeah. And the synchro monster, I do believe, requires an Altergeist. No, it's actually completely generic, so yeah, you don't need to run this if you don't want to. However, I am a bit disappointed that it does not say that except this one in the card's effects, meaning you cannot perform a a solar flare dragon kind of attack lock, and yeah, it's a bit disappointing how Flicky is a bit useless here in that regard, but still. Uh, if you run it, you basically run it because it's a level 2 tuner, so yeah, and they do have a synchro monster, one, we'll get to that later, so yeah. Next up we have Altergeist Silquitas. This is their other level 2 with very decent defense points for a level 2, and it has a quick effect that you can return one other Altergeist card you control to the hand and target one card your opponent controls to also return it to the hand, and if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one Altergeist trap card in your graveyard, add that card to your hand. You can only use each effect of Altergeist Silquitas once per turn. Okay, so the second effect might be a bit too specific for some of you who are not unfamiliar with this archetype, but Altergeists actually revolve around activating numerous trap cards, and some of their cards can even activate trap cards from their hands, so yeah, they basically are the masters of trap manipulations and all that, so yeah. As for this thing, well, it's a decent recovery, I guess. It basically uh, recycles your archetypal back row. And as for its first effect, it can be actually pretty decent if you can basically self-bounce the Altergeist you might not need at this moment in order to bounce back an opponent's card, which can basically be a very devastating shutdown in some specific matchups. A lot of them, in fact. So yeah, this is this is a staple in basically any Altergeist build. Next up we have Altergeist Multifaker. That's their first level 3 with 1200 attack and 800 defense. And if you activate a trap card, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon one Altergeist monster from your deck in defense position except Multifaker. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest the turn you activate this effect except Altergeist monsters. You can only use each effect of Altergeist Multifaker once per turn. Okay, actually this one is limited at the moment. Yeah, it's that good. First of all, its special summoning condition triggers when you activate any trap card, not just Altergeist trap cards, meaning you can actually, for example, if you're going second and your opponent has a very nicely established board, you can completely obliterate it with stuff like Evenly Matched, and then since Evenly Matched is a trap card, you can special summon this, then this thing special summons another Altergeist, then you go into a link play or a rank 3 if you special summon. No, actually this is their only level 3, what am I saying? If you go into a... Yeah, you can't go into many Xyz plays since if you don't have any level manipulation, but... Yeah, the effect only works when this thing is special summoned, meaning if you actually revive it, you can also summon another Altergeist, and yeah, it locks you into Altergeist when you special summon this, meaning you can perform any Xyz plays. Good God, what have I said? Anyway, yeah, this is a very fantastic piece of support, and yeah, it's perfectly reasonable why it got limited. If you could summon them in multiples during the same turn, you basically have a very nasty board set to fruition. So yeah, you can also trigger this thing as effect with impermanence. So yeah, which is another very welcome card in the deck. So yeah, it's a very nice card and definitely worth running in Altergeist decks. Next up we have their first level 4 and their only level 4, Altergeist Marionetter. When this card is normal summon, you can set one Altergeist trap directly from your deck to your spell and trap zone. You can target one Altergeist card you control and one Altergeist monster in your graveyard. Send that card to on the field to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon that other monster from your graveyard. You can only use this effect of Altergeist Marionetter once per turn. You're basically gonna be getting rid of trap cards most of the time with this effect, since some of their trap cards actually have nice floating effects, so you're going to be wanting to trigger them and give them some more practicality in the graveyard. So yeah, And not to mention you also recover an Altergeist for a link play from your graveyard, so yeah, Marionetter is most likely ran at 2 or 3 in basically any build because of its neat recycling ability. Also, you can basically set any Altergeist trap card which you might need from your deck, so yeah, that's nice. And their last main deck monster is Altergeist Conqueri. This is a level 5 with 0 attack and 2400 defense, and when an opponent's monster declares an attack, if you control an Altergeist card, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, negate that attack. If this card is special summoned, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, negate the effects of that card while it and this monster are face-up on the field. Honestly, yeah, this is a level 5, which can make it a bit of a brick in some cases if you don't open up well or if you don't have any Altergeist cards on the field. But yeah, this is a very nice versatile attack stopper in the Archetype, and not to mention if when it hits the field you can basically shut down any one monster, well, any actually face-up card your opponent controls, what am I saying, which is pretty damn good. It basically incentivizes to run at least 2 or 3 of these because it really the shutdown it offers, and it can also negate attacks. So yeah, it's really a good card. What else can I say? All right, now on to their link monsters. First up, we have Altergeist Hextia. It's a link 2, requires 2 Altergeist monsters, 1500 attack, points down and right, and gains attack equal to the original attack of each Altergeist monster it points to. When a spell or trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, you contribute 1 Altergeist monster this card points to, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Altergeist Hextia once per turn. Pretty decent first turn option because of its very powerful Omni Negation effect. Has a really nice floating effect if you use it as a further link material, or if your opponent gets rid of it somehow. And yeah, attack boosting is actually pretty dang relevant if you make sure that this thing points to at least, well, it can actually only point to 1 Altergeist at the time. So yeah, if we go into by the logic of the main deck, the most it's gonna get is 1600 attack, which is pretty damn admirable. It rises to become a 3100 attack beatstick, which is a pretty damn admirable attack value for a link 2. So yeah, it's a nice card. What else can I say? Next up, we have their other link 2, Altergeist Kidolga. This also requires 2 Altergeist monsters, has 1000 attack, points left and down. And when another Altergeist monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target 1 monster in their graveyard, special summon it to your zone this card points to. But each turn it cannot attack unless this card has already declared an attack this turn. If this card is destroyed by battle, you can target 1 Altergeist card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. This is basically a different flavor of Hextias, because this one fetches back from your graveyard, and it can also disrupt the opponent's plays by stealing their monsters from their graveyard, which may basically, if you have a very powerful beatstick, you beat over an opponent's monster and then resummon that huge boss monster you might have destroyed to be of use to you, maybe as a link material or continuing to beat the opponent until he faints, or basically maybe tribute him as a cost for a certain cards which require returning cards to the hand, or basically contributing or something like that. Yeah, basically stealing the opponents away from stealing resources away from the opponent is always appreciated. So yeah. It's not. It shouldn't be ran as much as Hextia, because this one doesn't have the beautiful attack boosting effect, and it doesn't have that much attack to begin with. Just a measly 1000 attack, which isn't much for a Link 2. So yeah, I wish it was. I wish it actually had the stats of Kidolga, the absolute saint. I'd have nothing to complain about if it was like that. And our final link monster is Altergeist Prime Banshee. This is a link 3, requires 2+ Altergeist monsters, 2100 attack, points down, bottom right, and right. And during the main phase, quick effect, you contribute one other Altergeist monster, special summon one Altergeist monster from your deck to your zone discard points to. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one Altergeist card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use each effect of Altergeist Prime Banshee once per turn. For a final boss monster, well, it's certainly wasn't designed like that, if we judge it by the anime. Yeah, some of you might be wondering, like I said, their final Link monster, like, where's Memory Gant? Well, to some of you anime watchers, Memory Gant isn't even printed yet, so yeah, I don't know if we will actually get Memory Gant from the point when this video is uploaded. I'm actually gonna feel really stupid if they actually announce moments later when I uploaded the video that we're getting Altergeist Memory Gant in the new Ignition Assault. So yeah, I'll actually provide an update if I actually if I actually learn that fact. But anyway, yeah, this clearly wasn't designed from the anime perspective to be the final boss monster, but it works regardless. You can basically tribute an Altergeist need at the moment in order to special summon some more of them you might need, which basically can trigger the effect of Multi-Faker in order to special summon more of them, go into more Link plays. So yeah, tolerable attack for a level 3. I wish it had around 300 or 400 attack points more, but still, it's a very nice, fairly nice boss monster for this archetype. And their last monster is actually their synchro monster we've mentioned, that being Altergeist Dragvirian. This is a level 6 with 2200 attack and 1200 defense, requires one tuner, one or more non-tuners, it's completely generic. And when an opponent's special summoned monster declares an attack, you can return one Altergeist monster you control to the hand to negate the attack. If this card is tributed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Altergeist Dragvirian once per turn. This actually, well, the second effect actually works very well in conjunction with Prime Banshee, since you can actually special summon it back right after it's being tributed. So, but it is a hard once per turn. So, yeah. Also, its Prime Banshee's effect is actually a hard once per turn. So, yeah. Also, it has a very nice attack stopping effect, meaning if you actually kept Conquery on the field, you can actually return the Conquery back to your hand and then have another attack negation available if need be, and you can basically reset Conquery's negation effect on a card which you want to negate. Well, if you stop the one card before and then you don't need to negate the effects of that card anymore, then you shift focus to another one. Fairly cool design here, and I really like it. So yeah, definitely worth running at least one or two of these. So yeah. Alright, Altergeists are so focused on spamming trap cards that I do not have any single spell card in their archetype. Yep, we're only left with the trap card. And first up we have Altergeist Camouflage. Target one Altergeist monster you control. Equip this card to it. Your opponent cannot target it for attacks, but it does not prevent your opponent from attacking you directly. Negate an opponent's monster effect that activates by targeting the equipped monster. If an Altergeist card you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. This is alright protection, but you're most likely gonna be using this on their boss monsters, so yeah, you're basically protecting your boss monsters from being virtually invincible, unless the only possible out you can basically give your boss monster is by kaijus, and yeah, basically when you non-targeting removal needs to be applied in order to get rid of it. So yeah, and if your opponent gets rid of it like that, you have a graveyard negate, well, graveyard protection ready to go. So yeah, definitely worth running, but yeah, run by preference. The ratios are up to you. Next up we have Altergeist Manifestation. Target one Altergeist monster in your graveyard, special summon it in attack position. And if you do, equip it with this card. When this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. You can banish this card from your graveyard and target one Altergeist trap card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. So yeah, this is basically a Call of the Haunted, but yeah, it's in a form of a normal trap, which again, it makes it a bit more flimsy, but still, if you use it as material, it won't stick around like Call of the Haunted does, because it's a continuous trap card. So yeah, a bit better and worse in some aspects. Next up we have Altergeist Emulate Elf, yeah. What the hell did I just read there? I cannot speak, really. It's a continuous trap that becomes a trap monster when summoned. It's a level 4 with 1400 attack and 1800 defense. It's still a trap card, and if summoned this way while it is in the monster zone, other Altergeist trap cards you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also, neither player can target them with card effects. It's a fun little way of protecting your back row, but you're most likely gonna be using this as link material, or if you summon this, you're probably gonna protect your back row against a Twin Twister or something, and that's it. And then your opponent will proceed to flatten this poor thing over with something by battle, or basically get rid of it by other means. So yeah, you're most probably gonna summon this to further your link plays. So yeah. Next up we have Altergeist Haunted Rock. If this card was set by an effect of an Altergeist card, you can activate it this turn it was set. When this card is activated, you send one Altergeist monster from your hand to the graveyard. When your opponent activates a trap card except during a damage step, you can send one Altergeist monster from your hand to the graveyard, negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, another very cool choice to consider. And yeah, I also I love this thing, how you basically, if you search this thing with Marionetta, you basically can activate it straight away, so you're basically getting a spell card instead of a trap card. So yeah, and not to mention that also it provides some nice graveyard setup for discarding a bit. I would have loved if it was from the deck to the graveyard a bit more, or if it gave you a choice at least. So yeah, it's an okay card, but yeah, run one or two of these. So yeah. Next up we have their other continuous trap, Altergeist Protocol. The activation and effects of Altergeist cards activated on the field cannot be negated. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send one other face-up Altergeist card you control to the graveyard to negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. You can only use this effect of Altergeist Protocol once per turn. This is a very fantastic piece of support in my opinion, because, well, it basically secures usage of all of your Altergeist effects, since it provides the benefit of them not being able to negate them. So yeah, but also you can send any face-up Altergeist card to negate a monster effect, which can be a huge deal since monster effects are pretty rampant nowadays. So yeah, this is a 2 or 3 off staple. Next up we have Personal Spoofing. Once per turn you can shuffle one other Altergeist card from your hand or face-up from the field into the main deck, add one Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand. It's okay, but it's a bit slow. It's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but yeah, it can be nice. But at this point you might as well be running Card Trader instead. So yeah, although it does offer you the benefit of searching out another Altergeist monster, which is fine. So yeah, 1 or 2 of these should be fine. Next up we have their final card, that being Altergeist Failover. If another card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon one Altergeist monster from your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard and target one Altergeist monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use each effect of Altergeist Failover once per turn. It's basically punishment for the opponent in one way, since basically any card that is destroyed by a card effect, you can special summon an Altergeist monster from your hand. That is if you happen to have them in your hand, because you're most probably gonna have an empty hand by the time the opponent's turn comes and he starts popping all of your cards. The only relevant ones that you're gonna be special summoning that are left in your hand are Conqueries, but those are usually special summoned by their own effects, so yeah. The relevant thing here is the Graveyard effect, which basically has a free recycle, so yeah. You're most probably gonna use this Graveyard effect a bit more, so yeah. You run it for the Graveyard effect most of the time, so it's perfectly fine at 1. And time for the grades. In terms of consistency, well, they're based on spellcasters. Well, they are spellcasters. I thought they were fiends for some reason. And spellcasters don't usually struggle that much with consistency, since they have Wonder Wand and stuff like that. Since you can basically use Wonder Wand on Meluseek to get 2 cards, and then a third card which is a direct search. So yeah, they have lots of neat ways in order to basically kick themselves into some massive combo swarming and play extensions. So yeah, it's a 3 out of 3. A bit on the flimsy side, but still I'll give them a 3 out of 3. In terms of power, the power outputs aren't very high overall, because they only have 4 monsters, and those monsters barely have stats that exceed 2000. Most of them have very average level 5 monster stats, so yeah, the power output is a very flimsy 2 out of 3 in that regard. Comeback ability is a bit on the stale side, since most of the time, well, most of their cards are trap cards, and those are slower by nature. So yeah, it's the comeback ability usually depends on resummoning Multi-Faker or drawing into Multi-Faker. So yeah, a bit too specific, but the generic spellcaster support does not provide any significant help, so I'm gonna give them a 1 out of 3 there. In terms of protection, they have some ounces of it, but they're not that coherent, to say the least. They have very schizophrenic types of protection, which again are not very coherent, and they are not very consistent. You usually rely on very specific setups on some very specific cards. So yeah, it's a 1 out of 3, nearing the 2 out of 3, a bit, but not too much to make me consider giving a 2 out of 3. So yeah. However, in terms of versatility, I actually have to give them a 3 out of 3, because being based around trap cards, and yeah, focusing around activating lots of trap cards, it can actually turn out to be a very nice splashability magnet, since you can actually splash in some very nice hand traps and some other various trap cards which you can basically abuse, such as Evenly Matched. The Infinite Impermanence is actually a very good choice. In fact, fun fact is, Impermanence was even used by Emma Besho in the anime, so yeah, there's bonus points for that. They can also actively run trap holes. Trap tricks are actually a nice choice for these guys, so yeah, they have lots of options going for them. Yeah, those were Altergeist. They're fine, about on the same level as Harpies, so yeah, if you were looking for that comparison. So yeah, that was pretty much it for this archetype analysis. Next time we'll be taking a look at the Code Talkers. Yes, those are finally coming to town, and yeah, I can't wait to take a look at them. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more vids, vocals, and updates. Comment, like, and subscribe. And as usual, I'll upload the next vid whenever I can. See you all, have a good day, and peace.